Okay, so we're going to get started, and I may be pausing now and then to admit people as they come in. There we go. So welcome, welcome, welcome to Journaling for Wannabe Renegades. It's March 20th, 2023, and as most of you know, my name is Meryl Cook. I'm a fibre artist and a writer living in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and I work from my home overlooking the Halifax Harbour. Once a week or so, you can find me working my artist on duty shift at Art 1274, Hollis Gallery. So these are my tools. This slide has my tools. It's a pen and paper or a journal, a nice hot latte or a cup of tea, and my mediums are rug hooking, spinning, wet felting, and writing. Journaling and rug hooking saved my life. I started writing in a journal in 2016 after finishing treatment for breast cancer. I had made a decision to leave my 20-year practice as a homeopath. I wanted to leave time and space to fully heal. And I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do going forward. So I sat down to write in my journal and hook at my frame every day. They were my ways of holding space for myself. And please excuse the frog in my throat. I've had that dreaded cough virus for about 3 weeks now. In 8 months, I filled 5 journals, and I designed and hooked 7 healing mats. And the more I wrote and sketched, the more ideas flowed, and the more design ideas I had. I developed a new method of design and wrote my first book, One Loop at a Time, a story of rug hooking, healing, and creativity. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was teaching and speaking about creativity and getting unblocked. I worked with groups and individuals, and I even took my journaling and rug hooking into corporate boardrooms, and I'm still doing that actually. Through my writing, my artwork, speaking, and workshops, I work to inspire others to find joy and a sense of purpose. And it all started with a decision to sit down to journal and hook every day, to allow space for the future to emerge, and to make sure I took my time to fully heal. So, why Wannabe Renegade? With this webinar, I was hoping to attract people who are ready to change things up, who want a different way of being, and who would like to get started with a journaling practice that is sustainable and that's unlike any they've tried before. A process that will help them to get unblocked and tap into their inner wild selves. And because renegades, who are people who want to change up the status quo, are my kind of people. So congratulations. By signing up for this webinar, you are a renegade, but you knew that already, didn't you? If you have a pen or pencil and some paper handy, I'm going to share today 2 writing prompts. Don't worry if you don't have these materials, as the recording will be available in a few days. So why journal? A journal is a great place for dreaming wildly. Letting your pen move freely and writing in your journal can help to open up creativity. It's a bit like limbering up. And just like having a great conversation with a friend can inspire you and help you sort through ideas, writing in your journal can be like having a conversation with yourself, where you feel free to try new ideas and explore different concepts. And a journal doesn't have to be just about writing. In my journal, I incorporate many simple sketches. Others use journals to post favorite photos, swatches of color, and you may have even seen daily stitch journals on social media. They're a very popular trend right now, and they're just amazing. And a journal can be a great source of design ideas. As an artist, my journal is where my designs begin. I sketch and write in my journal, and often use phrases from my journal as part of the design. So the map that you see here is called Love Letter. And following my treatment, I had a scar that I wasn't happy with. And I knew that if I wanted to fully heal, I needed to make friends with this scar. So I was writing it love letters in my journal. And this phrase from my journal, I let go of the pain of this scar and accept it lovingly into my body, inspired the design. I thought about what it would look or feel like to accept something lovingly into my body. And to me, it felt like a mother's embrace, like a cradling. And you can see that embrace on the right side of the design in green and pink. And that's where the design began. This was the first of my designs where I wrote a phrase from my journal on the linen around the design. And these phrases act as a sort of meditation while I'm hooking. And I don't do this on every rug these days, but I still do it on many. Today, we're going to talk about why journal. So we just covered this briefly, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later. We're going to talk about tapping into the body feeling. And we're going to end with something I call dreaming wildly. I'm going to suggest ways to establish a regular journaling practice and how to keep it fresh. And I'll leave you with an invitation to join my Creating Space membership community, as well as a couple of journaling prompts you can try at home. I'm happy to stay on at the end to answer any questions you may have. And as you know, this session is being recorded, and the recording will be available in a few days, so watch for it in your inbox. A warm-up exercise from my creativity workbook that I often share in my workshops is called Leaning into Joy. It's on page 15. This exercise came out of a practice I developed while taking my daily walks to radiation treatment. I looked for 5 moments of joy on my way to the hospital. Those moments might be a child's smile, the color of a blooming rose, the way a bird soars over the harbor, and so on. The second part of this exercise is to notice how your body feels when you're feeling joy. Where do you feel it? In your heart, in your arms, in your gut? By connecting with the body feeling, I believe we are training our brain to look for and recognize joy. So here's the prompt. Leaning into joy, what do you notice in the everyday that brings you joy? And where do you feel this in your body? Can you sketch the sensation of joy? Instead of just seeing a scene that brings you joy and drawing that, I invite you to take it further. How does this joy feel? And where do you feel it in your body? Can you draw the feeling of joy? Noticing the world around you as you travel through your day can help you to be grounded. It also helps us to form a habit of looking for beauty instead of focusing on the negative. It's hard to have a dark thought while you're opening up to a moment of joy. So here's my tip. And connecting with the body feeling of a positive experience is one way to start getting unblocked. And the more we practice, the easier it gets. And I call this tapping into the body feeling. So far, what we've been doing today is talked about why journal, and we warmed up how to flex our creativity muscles, as well as tapping into the body feeling. So how to establish a regular journaling practice or just get started. So here's some tips. And again, I will be sharing the recording with you, so you don't need to write them all down today. First of all, buy a journal you love. Ideally, something small enough to carry with you everywhere, and maybe even a special pen or marker that brings you joy to write and sketch with. Next, every time you get a minute, instead of scrolling through your phone, write or sketch something in your journal. Now, this is the most important thing. Leave the self-criticism or perfectionism at the door. Sketch and write as if no one is watching. I don't spend a lot of time writing in my journal about negative stuff. It needs to be acknowledged, but I don't want to put my energy there. My approach is to write and sketch a bit about a problem, but then to do what I call flip it. For example, Many are worried about the economy and prices increasing right now. I've chosen to focus on abundance. Each contract I get, I celebrate. Each mat that sells, I celebrate. I'm being careful with my finances, but I'm trying to view it as an opportunity to focus on what we really need. To focus on creating great meals for less money, for example, because I believe that what we focus on, we attract. Another tip for getting going with journaling is to take yourself on artist dates. That can be a day at the beach, or coffee at a shop on your way to work, or a ride on the ferry on the way to the gallery. Be sure to take your journal and spend some time writing and sketching. Another tip I have is leave your journal out so that it's always accessible. I often write if I wake at night. So before I head to bed, I make a note of where my journal and a pen are. I have a whole series of pages in my journal called Wide Awake on Harbor Drive. I write in my sunroom by the light of the streetlights and the moon. So some of it is pretty messy, and occasionally my pen has run out of ink and I wake up to a page that's quite blank. So I just want to talk again about why journal, because I think journaling is so important. And obviously by signing up for this webinar, you also agree. So how can journaling help? A journal is a great place for dreaming wildly. We can open up our creativity by letting our pen move freely and writing in our journal. It's a bit like limbering up. And having a conversation with yourself in your journal where you can sort through new ideas and explore different concepts is like your journal is your friend. And writing in a journal can be a great way to put out the energy into the world that you would like to attract. And speaking of putting out into the world the energy we would like to attract, this next exercise does just that. So this is another prompt from my creativity workbook, and it's called What If, and has two parts to it. First, you try writing and then sketching 2 or 3 of your wildest dreams in the form of what ifs. Sometimes we think of what ifs as something negative is going to happen, but this what if is what if something really marvelous could happen. So you write what about it, and then you connect to the body feeling. What would it feel like if this dream came true? So the 2 parts are to dream wildly and to connect to the body feeling. This is one of my most popular exercises. In fact, I have more people writing me emails saying, listen, I did the what ifs for a certain amount of time, a few months, and guess what? Some of them are coming true. And that was certainly my experience. When I started writing in my journal in 2016, Sherry Fitch, who introduced me to this exercise, suggested we write for 6 months of what if, 2 or 3 a day. So I did that. And then when I went back in my journal, I actually found that many of my what ifs have come true. Now, one of my what ifs is, what if I could be interviewed by Sheila Rogers at the Next Chapter, which is a national broadcast in Canada. And of course, if I were to be interviewed by Sheila Rogers, to me, the feeling would be bubbly and so exciting. And so if I were to sketch the body feeling of that, it would be a whole lot of bubbles rising to the surface. So I would encourage you to pick a time, so whether it's a week or a month or 6 months, and try writing the what ifs and let me know how it goes. So here's what we've done so far today. We've talked about why journal. We've talked about leaning into joy, and by doing that, tapping into the body feeling, and also limbering up and unblocking our creativity. We talked about how to establish a regular journaling practice or just get started. And then the last thing we've done is what ifs, which is about dreaming wildly and really putting the energy out there of what we want to happen in our life. So now you can think about what are your next steps. If you love these prompts and would like some support in using journaling and sketching for opening up creativity, for making time for self-care, consider joining my Creating Space membership community. You can find out more about it on my website under the Be Inspired tab, and it's also on this slide under merylcook.ca Creating Space. Each week, I will send you a writing sketching prompt, and then once a month, we do a 1-hour live session to discuss creativity and making time for self-care. This month, we're starting to include one journaling prompt that we will work on together in our live session. Our members share what creative pursuits they're working on, and we have great discussions, and it's a very safe and supportive environment. The cost is $20 a month or $199 a year. And for the month of April, all members of the community will be offered a 20% discount on any item in my online shop. Otherwise, there's a 10% discount for as long as you are a member of Creating Space. And here's what Elizabeth Miller of North Atlantic Fiber Arts and Paris House Woolworks had to say on Instagram last week. It's always such a pleasure to visit with Meryl and see all of the beautiful and creative fiber art she's working on. It's also so inspiring just to spend time with her. I'm so very fortunate to have her friendship and mentoring on my own creative and life journey. Spending time with Meryl is exactly what can happen if you join her Creating Space online community, where you receive weekly, incredibly thoughtful journaling prompts, as well as a monthly live session with Meryl. So thanks again for your interest in journaling. I'm available to stay on for a few minutes if there are any questions. And otherwise, if you need to rush, thanks for coming and keep in touch. So I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for questions. There, oh, look at everybody here. This is wonderful. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question or raise your hand or whatever you feel like you'd like to do. Or you could put a question in the chat if you're a bit shy.
Meryl, hi.
Hi, Maria.
Thanks for organizing this. Very interesting. I am all about journaling, and sometimes I struggle because I don't have a consistent practice or maybe a consistent routine in place. But I found myself sometimes craving for that moment of pouring out everything that I'm feeling, right? I do have other routines in place that I stick to it, but I'm wondering if you have ever had like a block, feeling like not wanting to do it but can't do it. If there's anything that you do that help you get out there and burst the bubble and start writing, like I guess like writing blockage or something like that you can share with us, because I have been struggling. I bought this beautiful notebook and I have so many things that I want to get out, but I just don't find the time and make excuses. I'm wondering if you have been through that and how have you gone out of it?
Sure. Well, thanks. I think that's a really great question, Maria. So thanks for asking that. I think that if you're feeling blocked, I still go to my journal. So even if I don't think I have anything to write, I will write the date and I'll say, oh, I don't have much to say today, but, and I'll just start writing, because what I find is that if my intention is just to write and keep my pen moving, that things start to flow once you get moving. And I think the other thing is to just really have your journal accessible all the time, so that you don't have to look for it. It's there, you can write. And then the other thing that when I've been blocked, I will just even just try simple sketches in my journal. So it's about showing up to the page, whether you think you have something to say or not. And I find that works for me. Yeah, thanks. So that was a great question. Just any other questions? I'm just trying to see. Oh, here's in the chat. There might be something. I'll read what's in the chat. Okay.
Meryl, you mentioned a monthly gathering of your program participants.
Yes.
Is that set at a specific time?
Yes, it's
when
on
do you
it's
host
on the
the monthly?
last Thursday of every month. And it's at 1 p.m. Atlantic time. So, and I said it that way because I have people in Europe. So it's the end of their day, and I have people on the West Coast, and it's the beginning of their day. I know that many people in sort of central time zones, it's around a lunch hour. So if you're having able to take time for lunch, that's a time. So anyway, that's why it's 1 o'clock. And people say that that if you're not able to make it, although it's better if you can make it, it is recorded and sent to the participants.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. Great question. I'm just looking. Linda Daly says, I've been using Meryl's prompts to create focus for my mixed media art journaling. So helpful when I feel stuck. Oh, thanks, Linda. Yeah, Linda's been doing some amazing art journaling. It's fun. And Christine says, I'm going to start the what ifs right away. Thank you, Meryl. It's helped a lot. And Patricia says, love the burst the bubble analogy. Yeah, it's great. And that's showing up for the page. Monique has, thank you, Meryl. This has given me food for thought, and I'll mull over some of these ideas to give me a boost. And Frida asked, did you say to not include personal instances? Perhaps I hear it wrong. I don't think I said that. I think what I said was I don't focus on the negative. So I do write about the negative because I think it's important that we acknowledge if something is going on that is not positive to us. I think that to only be positive is a bit of a folly in that we don't express what's going on. So I do take time to acknowledge what's going on for me, but then I flip it. So I flip it and start to write about what if this situation were resolved? How would it feel? What would it look like? I tap into the body feeling of that because I want to put, I don't want to focus energy on things that I don't want because I feel that we attract what we put out there. So if we spend a lot of time focusing on the negative, my experience has been that that's what I'm attracting. Whereas if I spend some time on the negative, but then flip it, that works for me. So does that answer your question, Frida?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. You're welcome. You're welcome. Beth says, on this note, Meryl's approach has helped me to not just create a journal filled with grievances, and in doing so, I start to see the solutions versus feeling defeated. Thanks, Beth. That's really my my approach. Is always to look for the solutions and not spend a lot of time in despair or anger or hurt or whatever is going on. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, thanks. So anyone else have any other questions about journaling? And Linda Monk says, thanks, Meryl. Happy journaling to all. Journaling makes a difference. Linda is the director of the International Association for Journal Writers, of which I'm a council member. And it's a really wonderful resource. And yeah, we have monthly writing circles as well on IAJW. So thanks, Linda. Yeah, and Allison said she appreciates Beth's comment because she finds she's getting into that tunnel of grievances as well. And I think in the past when I had journaled before 2016, that had been my experience. My journal was only about when things were really rocky. And I needed to find a way to make journaling part of my life in a more positive way. So thanks so much. Yeah, any other questions? Cindy Gay. Cindy, looks like you've raised your hand.
I have. Oops,
Awesome.
muted.
There you are.
Okay. One of the things that has helped me, I have a bullet journal practice that I follow religiously because that helps me save my brain.
Yeah.
but I have another little separate notebook where I record what I'm doing in rug hooking.
Mhm.
You know, any thoughts, you know, like if I see a particular neat scene, you know, I'll just record maybe just the date and I took a photo in this location.
Uh-huh.
So later when I'm going back to my journal, I can find it in my phone, right? Based on the date.
Yeah.
But what I find is I have ideas and thoughts about my rug hooking practice that I forgot about. So when
Mhm.
I go back and look at the journal, I'm like, God, that was great. I
Mhm.
forgot about that. And then I don't lose those ideas. They stay with me.
That's really great. For me, I put it all in my journal. So I found for me what works is having it all together. So my journal has everything from, you know, I was inspired by looking at this. And then I usually write a little bit about it. And so for me, it helps to have it all in one place. But I think whatever works for you is great. Thanks, Cindy. Okay. So Christine says, I think the negative parts of journaling come from Julia Cameron with the morning pages. She talks about getting the negativity out by writing it all down. I like this new way of doing journaling. I think it's good to get the negativity out, but then to move on from it is kind of my approach. And yes, it's a wonderful book, Julia Cameron's book. And Linda Daly says, I agree with Cindy. My past journaling often inspires me to go forward. Yeah, cool. Thanks. Any other questions? Any other thoughts on journaling? What are people planning now? Now, based on what you heard today, do you have any ideas about your journaling practice? I guess is my question.
I'm going to start journaling.
Great. And who's speaking? Frida?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Well,
I've done it in the past when I had something to say, but no one to say it to.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
And it was very personal things, and I'd take and hide the journal and never see it again until
Yes.
I'm going through something. Oh my heavens, there it is.
Yeah.
Because it was that personal a conversation. I guess that's the point. I think I used journaling in the past as my secret friend that I could talk to.
Which is awesome. And but it's nice if you can also talk to yourself when things are going okay, right? Instead of
That's why I
saving
say I
it.
think I'm
Yeah.
going to start like you said.
Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, Linda Daly says, love that secret friend. So yeah, it is like a friend. Your journal is like a friend. And yeah.
Yep.
And actually my journals, my first 5 journals were what was the material for my first book. And yeah, and I'm writing another book. Don't know when it'll be done, but I've been turn under anything that I write that I think might be appropriate for that next book. I just turn under the page or turn down the corner, and that'll be when I do sit down to get back to work on that book. I'll be going through my journals to find all the excerpts that I had. So Linda Monk says, Kay Adams said that a journal is a friend at the end of a pen. That's a lovely thought. That's great. Great. Any other comments? Any other questions? Oh, thanks, Allison. Great idea with the page turn. Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't want to have to go through the whole thing. So when I have in my journal, when I have a design idea or something to do with my other book, then I turn down the page, and so that I know I only have a few pages to go through when I'm looking for something. That's great. So it looks like we're done with our questions. So thank you so much. You will be receiving 2 emails from me. One is today with another prompt for you. And then in a couple of days, I will send the recording as well. So look in your inbox and expect 2 emails from me this week. And I will add, those of you who are not on my Heart Notes newsletter list, I will add you. And if it's not your cup of tea, please feel free to unsubscribe. There's no hard feelings there. But I think that because you're interested in journaling, my newsletter would be a really good resource for you. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and look for my emails. Yeah. Oh, so great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much.